Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on Air, where we highlight Latino culture, Latino concerns, and contributions. And we've got a great show for you tonight. We've got a big controversy going on, but it's not a controversy, really. It's all about love and positivity. And we've got Anthony Bertie Rendon, who is with us today, is going to be my guest. And we're going to talk about Cinco de Mayo, the hot topic that, believe it or not, is only 3 months away. So please come on into the room, join us. If you got a conversation that you want to start and you want to ask a question of Anthony or myself, or you just want to make a comment, please do so because Mi Gente on Air is about my people. So join us here on Mi Gente on Air.
Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on Air. This is a show to showcase our talents, our culture, and just who we are as a people that help make up the Great Lakes Bay region. Tonight, we are going to talk about a hot topic in our Latino community in Saginaw. For years, the annual Cinco de Mayo celebration has been presented by La Unión Cívica Mexicana. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and we're going to talk about how Cruz Castillo Diaz advocated for a celebration highlighting the Battle of Puebla because she wanted a parade to highlight Latinos. After a few years, the Civica hosted the annual celebration, and it's been around for 44 years. It can be a lot of work, I know personally from experience, and last year, after a 3-year hiatus, we came out with a bang. After the COVID pandemic, we had huge crowds that wanted to come out again, wrestlers, dancers, and so many food trucks. Well, enter Anthony Bertie Rendon. He says it's time for a change because his generation wants something new. We have those who support his idea and those who still support our annual traditions. Well, tonight I've asked Anthony to come on Mi Gente on Air and let's talk about the positives of having two events in Saginaw on the same day. We can do it. Mi Gente, please help me welcome Anthony Bertie Rendon. Hey.
Woo!
How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good, man. I didn't think I was gonna erupt a whole community.
Yeah. You are like a volcano. But hey, it was a great change. And I really want my listeners to understand who exactly is Anthony Rendon.
So, I mean, who I am, I'm just another person, enigma. I just a person with ideas. I didn't know that me setting a new idea was gonna make a whole big thing happen. I didn't know that a lot of people were gonna be like, "Why didn't you ask Larry?" Because I didn't know I had to ask you. Which at the same time, like I told you before, it's out of respect and it's something new, a new idea. And that's who I mean, I'm a new idea. If you really think about it, I'm a new generation.
Yes.
So like, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm an artist, graphic designer, promoter, visionary, dreamer.
All right. All the above, right?
All above.
Last year we worked together on the Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
I asked Anthony to actually drive our parade marshal, Bobby Balderrama. What was that experience like for you?
It was cool, man. Like, I was honored. I was very honored because like get to drive the Grand Marshal. That's really cool. And then for someone like me, I feel like still like I'm a nobody, but it made me feel nice, and it was cool to see the before the parade fiascos and whatnot.
Yeah, everything that goes behind the scene,
behind the scenes, man. And so like, it was really cool, and I'm always honored for that one.
It just something in me said, you know what, Anthony would be the perfect person because Bobby's a rock and roll icon,
Yeah.
in our community throughout the nation, with Question Mark and the Mysterians. So it was really, I thought it would go hand in hand, and I really wanted you to have that experience as well. So congratulations on that. So you brought out this idea of Fiesta de Mayo. That's what you're calling it. Tell us why you wanted something different than what has currently been going on in Saginaw.
Well, first off is to show people that you can do something against the norm. Yes, the Civica's been doing this thing for 44 years, which much respect because like I said to other people, you don't understand the work that's about to come on my plate that you don't want to do. And it's just one of those things. And then too, like just to have a new flavor for Saginaw, because we're so used to, 44 years of the same thing. There has to be something to mix it up and spice it up.
Mm-hmm.
Every new generation and stuff like that, there's always someone in there to always make it, a little mixy, a little spicy.
Well, I have to bring this up. 28 years ago, I started Mi Gente magazine. And when I did that, we're talking, 1995.
So that's when I was born.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
So at the time, there was another publication out. It was called El Central, which was run by a Saginaw native. Her name was Dolores Sanchez, and she did a great thing. And I worked for her down in Detroit, actually. I looked her up and I said, hey, I think I can contribute. I'm a writer. And I was just starting out in my journalism career. And I give her big props for what she did because, one, she was a woman, two, because she was Latina,
right.
And Hispanic publications weren't around. But I remember her getting very upset at me, because she didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing at the time. But hey, 28 years later, we're still here. And now we have this show, Mi Gente on Air. So I understand where you're coming from, man. And this young man, he's a young man in our community that is doing things. You've been doing green beans for the last few years. Tell us a little bit about that.
So pretty much green beans was something I've done. It's a little project where introducing cannabis into the public in a more feasible way. I know that's one of those crazy topics, but through events, snacks that I made, like infused salsa, honey. I won awards for everything. And then like events. I did the cannabis dinner where it was all infused, and it's so cool to this day. I have people who come up to me, they're like, dude, that was something different. Or like other people are like, oh, we're doing our own because of you. And it's like, nice. Okay. But yeah, it was green beans was just something me going like, because I like seeing things and I'm like, how can we bring it into the forefront, not look like, like it's radical, but in a way inspire. And honestly, that's what I'm kind of doing with this is, because a lot of people, why would you do another one? Why go against the grain and this and that? Someone has to do it. Someone's gonna do it.
So why not you?
Why not me? Why not me? I mean, you know what I'm saying? And plus two, like, and here's the thing too, man. My mom never really took me to none of the Mexican dances and stuff. So like the old guard and all that, I started meeting them once I started working with the MAC.
Okay.
And so like learning about all these families and this and that and the little dramas and da. I'm like, yo, I'm not part of that. Cause I never once, was involved with that. If you haven't noticed, I'm in my own little world all the time. So that was the one thing where when I started thinking about this idea and whatnot, people like I said before, I was like, I didn't know I had to ask you, man. I didn't know I had to be like, hey, Larry, how you doing?
And you know what? You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. And what I want to say about that is that, the Unión Cívica Mexicana has been doing it for 42 years because Cruz Castillo at the time, I believe her and her group who started it, they did it for the first 2 years, maybe a few more. Maybe she joined the Civica. And then in 2009, I think is when I came on board, maybe 2010. But, we've done it for a number of years and I'm ready to let that go. Believe it or not, I don't have any problem with it because believe me, at the level that we're doing it now in our community, it's huge. And we
Oh
just
yeah.
came off of 2 very large Cinco de Mayo's with, Michael Salgado. You know, the crowds were amazing, and we had Chris Perez, Selena's husband, here in Saginaw. I mean, the crowds, we sold out. It was Huntington Event Park in those days in 2019 pre-COVID. We sold out the park. It's never been sold out like that, believe it or not. And we did it as Latinos, believe it or not. So,
Brush
you
your
know,
shoulder.
it's really, it's okay if there's anybody that wants to be involved with the Cinco de Mayo. Um, you know, I have no problem allowing anybody who's constructive, who is positive, and is not just going to look to come over and take it over without any respect to those that are involved with it already. I can step back, believe it or not. It's a lot of stress, believe me. And I'm getting to the age and the point, where I'm really busy and I need to step back and relax and take vacations, right? That's where I'm planning. But it's really important though that we bring to the forefront to the community that we're working together, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that we can do somehow, because you're going to have Cinco de Mayo, the annual 44th, where you're going to have your event on the same day. We're going to have the dance at the vault. I mean, it's going to be a full day of celebration of Latino culture. How
And
can we lose?
and that's where a lot of people were like, why would you do it on the same day? And
Yeah.
I'm like, there you go. A whole big and give or take, yeah, I did with Cinco de Mayo on a Friday this year, which darn. But I wanted to do it on the same day because why not have a big day of celebration? You look at Tejano Fest and all that in San Antonio, you look at what they do in California with just their simple weekend festivals. There's multiple locations of different type of music from, bachata, reggaeton, Tejano, I don't even know what you consider Bad Bunny nowadays, hip hop or whatever. But there even EDM. There's new EDM out with Mexican, music mixed in and stuff. So why not bring that? Why not?
Yeah, you got a good point there. And I think as we move forward, I hope that we're able to really bring it together rather than be divisive. And I see a lot of people on Facebook that are divisive. They may be upset at me for whatever reason, and they want to bring out that negativity, and it's just not conducive to who we are as a community, because it's not just us, like this show too. It's not just looked upon by Latinos. We got the greater community that says, oh wow, they can't
Oh
get
yeah.
along, and that's important, so I hope that we can move forward beyond what we have done in the last week.
And that's where too, I'm just trying to hope with this, we do for real, people come join, go volunteer and help out. You know what I'm saying? Come to my meetings, go to the civic meetings, and after volunteer on those days, because trust me, it is a lot of work and we're gonna need a lot of workers. And then two, who's to say we cut you off, you go one event, you go the other event.
And last year when we went into the Cinco de Mayo, coming out of COVID, it was really difficult because we had a handful of people volunteering and pulled that off. What we did, we had no idea we were going to get that kind of crowd. We were just hoping, okay, we know everybody's kind of ready. They want to come back out or whatever. We haven't had a parade or festival in 3 years. 3 years. We were rusty. And all of a sudden we got bombarded. We had food trucks galore that were able to feed the people. The lines were huge and long, and it was a beautiful thing. And so I'm really proud of what we have done with our Cinco de Mayo, because if you notice, not very many communities have what Saginaw
Oh no.
has in regard to a Cinco de Mayo celebration. I know other communities have tried. Lansing, I think Flint at one time. Detroit has theirs. They have a huge festival over there. They had to move it out of Clark Park because of violence. And I'm just so glad that we don't have that, and let's knock on wood, because that can always happen, right? But
Well,
we're living in a real precarious times.
and that's the thing too, is that's where I think the time is right. Because I mean, I know the gangbangers and still stuff are still out there, but at the same time, a lot of those dudes are old. And at that, I know the younger generation is not, at least from what I kind of understand for Latino sense and whatever, Latinx, those kids are not as crazy as our fathers and Theos. So like that's where I'm like, all right, I think we're ready as a community, as everything to have more cultural things for us. You know what I'm saying? It's not like how it was. Cause that's the cool thing too, is I've done my research and to see what's came out from the 90s and 2000s and how we, you know, as Saginaw Midwest Mexicans, what was it? How do I say this? Evolve, you know, mature. Um, I feel like we're ready to be accepted. You know what I'm saying? Because like you see all these other people and they throw their events. Like my good example was St. Patrick's Day. Look at St. Patrick's Day.
My good friend Bridget Luby over there in Jolt at Jolt Credit Union. Yes,
Exactly. And you know what I mean? And then all those events, how many of those people you think throw those events are really Irish? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm like, why not me do this? Why not someone like, dude, again, I'm 28. So a young dude like me to come up and do this is better than having another 40-year-old or whatever. And then it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, you older generation, you do got some good ideas, but you know, I'm still a little fresh. I'm still there, you know, this brain still kind of works still good.
So how do you think, because I know, Bertie, you really try to promote peace and love. That's kind of your mojo, you know, with the green beans and everything else. And and that's what that's all about. How do you propose that we do move forward and working together, rather than, allowing others to make us divisive, right?
Well, I mean, this is the first step right here.
Right.
You know, both of us having this conversation. Two, I mean, just everyone share both flyers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or volunteer for both events. Come to both meetings. See what both people are about. And then two, and when the day happens, we'll see the real peace and love that comes out from it. Cause that's all this is just me trying to bring the old nostalgia factor with the new, with music and culture, man. Live art, lowriders, then adding in hip hop to the equation.
Okay.
which I know that was one of the things where I got so many faces, but at the same time, it's here. Oops. It's here. You know what I mean? Which is the funny thing too. You know, because I know that's always been like a oof. Wait, really? Hip hop?
Well, it is something that, me as, an older man now, and I remember, I was actually at the first Cinco de Mayo in 1980, believe it or not. I was very young, but the music has evolved through the years, and I'm not that big of a fan, of course, of hip hop, because that's not my generation. But I do listen to it daily because I've got exchange students that live with me, and that's what they listen to. And they're not even from this country; they're from Europe. So I know, and we have to sometimes settle on, say, okay, today's my day, and they're going to listen to 80s and 90s music. But so that is a concern, that we have to bring that music for the younger generation as well, because they are also part of this whole Cinco de Mayo celebration and a part of our community. So that's a big concern.
Don't get me wrong, because like, I love the Tejano music. I love reggaeton, bachata, all that stuff. But like, there comes a point where you have to put the other genres in, because it's there. It's gonna be there. Hip hop is what, 50 years old now? So gotta accept
and
it,
hip
man.
hop, a hippie to the
I'll say you remember when
I remember when it came out.
Kool and the Gang and all them. So, but that's where like, and that's the thing too, is I'm not just gonna throw in like random artists. I'm actually gonna throw respectful artists, and there is Christian rap. There's Christian rap artists out there. Bobby Barrera. I'm shouting you out right there, but and that's all it is too. Is just adding that different flavor. Which again, no offense for having just Tejano all the time. It's like how much more can you go slow and accordion? It was fun. I got actually a little story. We were DJing shout out to KO into their fiesta in September. I was DJing it, and I was playing Tejano songs, and my buddy, he's gotten used to. He's a gringo, and he was like, dude, he's like, can you stop playing Tejano and play reggaeton? He's like, this is too slow, dog. And I was just like, I just started laughing. I'm like, I trained you, buddy. I trained you. But
yeah, well, you know, in a lot of communities, whether you're in Detroit or even Pontiac, Tejano music isn't as readily accepted as it once was 20 years ago.
right.
Saginaw, Lansing, Flint, we're still Tejano towns at the heart of, you know, a lot of the population. But as immigrants have come to the areas, and I remember somebody saying, Saginaw Cinco de Mayo, how can it be a celebration if there's no banda music? They didn't understand it. It was somebody from the outside. But on the inside, you know, we're saying how we love our Tejano music, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in regard to, you know, the Tejano genre itself, because there are those that they don't seem to allow the new generation to come up playing Tejano, you know. And I read an article where they're still looking at the older artists from the heyday of Tejano, and they're still out there performing. God bless them. But you know, we have to allow the younger generation to come in as well and make their mark as artists as well. So there's so much that you know, we can talk about, and I think that as we move forward, you know, the ideas that anybody may have out there. I see a lot of comments. We've got 45 people in the chat room tonight, obviously.
Got it
and
hot.
you know, I can't read all those long comments, people, but anyways, we'll try to hit up some of that in the live stream. But tell me a little bit about what motivates you, Anthony. What motivates you today as a young man here in the city of Saginaw?
Honestly, seeing my people be inspired by just the simple little things that I do or say. And it's like, that's what motivates me. And yeah, just seeing people happy and like actually going to do stuff themselves. The amount of like things, like just for me doing the green beans thing and stepping up and like, you know, whoa, you're vending edible salsa, you know what I'm saying? And I see people that said, yo, I saw you vending that. That's why now I'm doing this and that, and I'm doing my own vending thing or my own show. That to me, that's a cool accomplishment that money can't even bring me that happiness. And I guess that's what motivates me, is seeing other people do like what makes them happy, even if it's radical, you know.
So do you consider yourself radical?
Oh, of course.
I wanted to bring that up because I know, you know, that's always been kind of like your mojo. And it's been a good thing because I think that it makes you shine. And I remember when you were involved with the mural with the
with Freddie
Estrella, with Freddie, and Freddie from Detroit, remember?
Yes, Southwest Freddie, my boy, man.
And you know, you did your thing there helping him with that La Estrella mural. And we had them on the show too. So that was a great thing. But as we go forward, let's talk a little bit about, you know, what is your goals in 2023 and, you know, representing that future generation of Latinos?
So my goals for 2023 is honestly survive this and get the show done. To throw more different shows that involve my younger generation, either through mixing hip hop with Latino bands and stuff like that, because that's what I do, is throw shows. And then hopefully see, like in the fall time, other people doing their own little, you know, Hispanic culture type thing events in their own way.
Yeah.
And like that'd be the coolest thing ever, you know. I mean, like I said, I already love what's been going on, like what Miguel doing with the September, the fiesta in September. Like that's already cool, right? That's bringing new ideas right there. And honestly, that was one of the things that got me going, like, you know, maybe it is time we have things going on. Especially because, dude, we're here.
And that's one of the things that when we brought on the Saginaw Taco Fest, it was really important because we see so many Taco Fests happening on the state level, whether they're in Royal Oak or whether they're down in Detroit at Eastern Market. They're huge. My concern was, are Latinos benefiting from this? you know, rather than somebody who's just doesn't know anything about tacos and they're throwing this big event and they're reaping the benefits. So
no shots at Frankenmuth, but better than Saginaw than Frankenmuth.
Yeah. We're going to come back. We're going to go into commercial. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the feedback that we're getting online here. And we'll be back with Anthony Rendon, who's heading up the Fiesta de Mayo this year in Saginaw.
You're listening to Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
So welcome back into the live stream here. Thank you. We've got a lot of people in the room tonight. Yeah, we got about, from what I can see, over 50 people. So that's a good thing. And I encourage everybody to give a question or if a comment, because, you know, like I always say, that's what makes this show happen. Mi Gente, it's for my people. But we also are bringing awareness to the greater community of our individuals here in the Great Lakes Bay region. It's so important that Latino contributions are highlighted and that we are a part of the fabric that makes this community so great. And I just really want everybody to know that, you know, we're trying our best, you know, to bring forth these different cultures and to bring forth attention to our Latino culture per se. But, you know, there's so many entrepreneurs and businesses out there today. And I know that's one of the questions I'm going to talk about with Anthony is about how he feels in regard to what he mentioned a little earlier about the attention that Latinos are getting now, finally, after so much time. And, you know, we live in a whole different world now. So, you know, I'm going to just talk a little bit here about some of the different comments because there's a whole bunch. And I hope they're positive. I'm looking for positive stuff, you know, because I don't want to be more divisive. But, you know, we got Toyo Rosa says California and Texas has a much greater population than little old Saginaw. So that's where the difference starts. And that's true. And, you know, it's really important when we do have those food trucks out there. And I always say, you know, you sometimes some people say, well, we should only have about 5, but you know what? We need the food trucks in order to feed the people because
I'll say, you
there's
see
a
what
lot of
happens
people.
when you have 5 food trucks.
Yeah,
You're going to have
yeah.
lines that go for hours, and then you're complaining why you don't have a taco in your mouth. Like, come on, people.
Yeah. So also, gosh, Jessica O'Brien says, Anthony, I appreciate your lens perspective, but do you honestly believe that by establishing a new community event on the same day is promoting collaboration, cohesiveness, and solidarity? That's Jessica O'Brien. You know, that's one of the questions that I was getting a lot of feedback from, because as you were on Facebook and you were putting those comments, my phone was blowing up.
Dude, you don't understand. Yeah, I've had people who've added me that I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen you around, like, you know what I mean? But like, I'm just like, oh God, you know. I mean, Mr. Rodarte, do you think that it's like splitting it and whatnot? Do you think it's a bad thing?
I honestly don't think it's a bad thing, people. I think, like my mother, I said, the more the merrier. She always did. My concern, though, is that, you know, the food truck, the vendors, it splits them kind of maybe, and then they're not going to have as much of an audience.
Which
you know what
I
I'm
feel
saying?
bad, and I'll say that too, the audience thing. But then again, I feel like if you really rock with somebody, you're gonna go to where they're at. You're gonna get their food. It's just, yeah. And then what I mean by I feel bad too is like with my food vendors, I'm cool with all the people too. We're like, also don't shy away from what the Civica's doing. If you guys are already locked in and I have my event going on, like there's love to go around, man. Like, trust me, unless you guys have 2 trucks, then you're making more money. But yeah, because people are gonna come out for it. Like you guys know this. Like you've seen it. You've seen your numbers. I see you guys on social media. You're always sold out. Like, come on.
Yeah. And
Like,
last year, I mean, the crowds were so big that, I mean, everybody sold out. It was a beautiful event for them. So
yeah,
that's kind of my concern. But I think that, you know, as you have your event over there and we're downtown, it's not that far of a distance.
No.
You know?
And the thing is too, people like,
and our parade goes right by it.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. It's like, one, you got a whole street that you can, and then two, those businesses on the street. So what I'm thinking about too is like economic wise,
Yeah.
the money that it's going to bring just to Saginaw alone, you know what I mean? And like, not even just the money, the image, the idea of what Saginaw is now and what we're trying to be. This is one thing that makes it look better. We're not just that dangerous city on the damn list no more. Oops, on the list, But yeah.
Well, we're on the Facebook, so we do have to go back into the show. So that's where we're gonna go. There's still comments coming in. We probably should have took some callers, but that's not something we do. I'm not on the Art Lewis show right now, but anyways, we're gonna go back into Mi Gente on Air. So stay with us, and we'll continue the conversation.
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back. We're here in the Alpha Media Studios at WSGW in Saginaw, and this show will be broadcast on 100.5 FM and 790 AM. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and we have Anthony Birdie Rendon, who's in the house here in the studio with us. And we're talking about Cinco de Mayo, which is only 3 months away, believe it or not. And I don't even know how that happened, how we're only 3 months out now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I've been working on this thing for about 6 months, actually, and it is a huge undertaking. So, I hope you're ready for that, because it can be very difficult. Make sure that you get people who are doers
Right
surrounding you, not just giving opinions or giving comments like they are on Facebook, because you need people who are workers, who are going to back up your idea with what you're doing. And like I said, last year we had a handful of people that weren't even going to be involved with the Cinco de Mayo came out of the woodwork. They supported us. They met at the gate because they saw the crowds, and they said, "Oh man, we got to help." And they came and they volunteered, and it was a blessing. It really was a blessing. So thank you to those volunteers, Christy, Val, I can't remember all, Libby, I think many of the members of the Civica. But, at that time, everybody was still kind of afraid of COVID. So we at the Civica, we never fully recovered from COVID in terms of the membership or the people that we had involved, because we lost some people. People got sick. And, what we all went through. It was a difficult time. And thank God we've kind of come out of that. And so there's still people getting sick. So we still have to be careful as well. But tell me, Anthony, can we talk a little bit about what your take is in regard to the attention our culture is getting from local business entrepreneurs and food truck entrepreneurs and Mexican food in general? What's your take on all that?
I think it's pretty cool. It's awesome to see that, our culture is starting to shine more. What I'm also noticing is, I said this the other month at a meeting, we're also becoming more regional. From, like, as you've seen, Cali Mexicans, the West Coast, to like the Texas Mexicans. And now we're at this point where we're at like Midwest Chicanos, you know what I'm saying? And with that, like, the food is getting its own flavor. And then with the whole infusion things, I mean, like, shout out Yum Yum Ninja, the hibachi burrito. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for us to be a culture and to see, like, just our food, even art. Our art, like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm seeing a lot of different type of like white people and stuff like that doing sugar skulls and stuff like that, or like using the pastel palettes and whatnot. It's just cool because like now, and maybe it is because of Bad Bunny, lol. But people are now seeing us as like, yo, like, I'm down with the brown, dog. Like, that's what's cool about it. And to be the new part of like that new generation of it is one of the coolest things ever too. Cause like I see what my age, because like I'm not a I don't speak Spanish and stuff like that.
I don't either.
So like, so because it was funny, the one dude was like, "Hablo inglés." I'm like, dude, no, But to be part of that group and to understand and show that group that we're out here.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You still have culture. You're still, you still got the last of the Mohicans in you.
Well, we're very much a unique group here in Saginaw because we're second, third, fourth generation.
Yeah.
Our great grandparents, our grandparents were the immigrants, that came here in the 20s and 30s and 40s. And so those of us that are around today, and there's some that are older and they were around. I have an aunt that's 91. Thank God that she's still with me, my Aunt Della, and I love her so much. And we have evolved as a community in Saginaw. We're not like the Pontiacs where there's a lot of immigrants. We're not like Detroit where tons of immigrants, as well as those that have been around second, third, fourth generation. And so, I say that wholeheartedly with love that we are a unique culture here in Saginaw. And it's wonderful to see that we have done great things. We
Right.
as a community, to be able to still be around and still have a celebration for 44 years.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So
like that's right there. I grew up with it. I grew up with the Gente magazine and stuff like that. So like,
and I want to give props to all those that came before us. I mean, really, those, from the founders of the Civica to Cruz and Joaquin Diaz, who, started this celebration in Saginaw that your generation, my generation grew up with. We grew up with having that Saturday, that first Saturday in May, where we're going to celebrate our Latino culture. And that's what it is. Even though we're talking about, the Battle of Puebla, and recognizing what happened with that with the French army, it has evolved to where we're celebrating Latino culture in our area, our culture, our heritage, and like this year's theme, celebrating our roots.
right.
And we can do so much with that. So it's really something to be proud about, I think. And I know that some people had difficulty with the understanding that there would be an event on the same day. But that's what happens with change and evolving with new ideas. So tell me a little bit what you've got so far with your Fiesta de Mayo. What's planned, or where are you with the planning stages?
So with the planning, I'm still kind of getting in there. We do have a location. It's going to be at the Mexican American Council. So, we'll be passing it, or the parade's going to be passing by. Pretty much I got some vendors locked in. It's just getting all like the forms for them filled out. I have a club probably locked in, a lowrider club. So we can, have nice cars everyone can look at. Got a lot of stuff low key in the works I don't want to kind of publicly announce just yet. Because I just one of those things I like to wait and whatnot. It's kind of like how marketing goes. But I have a lot of good ideas that I think a lot of people will respect and like, at least culture wise and whatnot. But who's to say? I can't make everybody happy.
Hey, let me tell you, for instance, you never will.
Yeah,
you never will.
Probably know that one
Believe
for a
me.
fact, my man. So that's the one thing.
We wanted to give you this platform to be able to say what you're doing and why you're doing it. And, it's important that we share ideas, I think. And, that door's open, man. You and I have had a great relationship. I got to tell you, Anthony, I met him maybe 2 years ago. We were at a bar. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh, yeah.
And you're with one of your cohorts. I was with one of mine. And man, he came up and just gave me love, man. You gave me those flowers, and you were just like, props to you for what you've done in this community. And, I don't get that very often. People think I may. I hardly get that. And I'm not trying to, pat my shoulder or anything like that. But I give you your respect for that because you've seen it for what it was. And I think that we have been on a good path And that's why I didn't want any of this divisiveness from anybody else, because I didn't want anybody speaking for me and I didn't want anybody speaking for you. And I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to this young man myself like I always do. Right.
And I mean, that's all it is, dude, just having like a conversation, sitting down,
And
having
that's
a
what
conversation.
this is. Yeah,
you know
definitely.
what I mean? And that's where it's sort of like, it's good. I hope you people see, you know, that it's not a split. This is actually something that, you know, I want you guys to come together. And if this is what made you come together, nice.
Yeah.
And maybe think of something new instead of the past. Nice. Because let's be real, people. We're not in the past no more. We're in the future. Like, let's be real. We're not in the past no more. We are in the future. Yeah, present day is present day, but it's new times now, man. Like, we got, you know, AI making big pictures. We got VR. We got way more stuff than what's been going on in the past. That's why we need to move on. Move into something,
and that's something
idea.
I want to talk about, that because I want to bring to the attention to in regard to Tejano music, because I have an individual that's going to be coming on the show and talking about Tejano music. Where are we today? And an article that I referenced earlier in this conversation was the fact and the idea that we're still celebrating the Tejano music of the 90s.
Right.
And it's very difficult for an upcoming artist today to get that recognition and to move on into that hemisphere of Tejano royalty, if you will. And so that's one of the things, you know, I don't know how everybody feels about that. I love my Tejano music of the heyday. Of course, we all love Selena. We're always going to. But we do need to move on from, you know, that genre of music to allow the new music to come forward. And so I think maybe it's a thing where people have a difficult time with change.
Oh yeah.
you know,
dude. I mean,
and obviously I see that within the Tejano genre. So I hope that, you know, everybody recognizes and says, you know what, we have to be supportive of different music, not just the Tejano. And if we do move to say banda or bachata, any of that music, that's okay. It's coming. It's there.
Right.
It's a beautiful celebration of culture and heritage of Latinos as well.
There's nothing wrong with a tuba in a song. Trust me, people.
Don't look at the trombonists because that encourages them. I say that because I played trombone.
I'll say I play. Hey, there we go, man. I played trombone.
Did you really?
Yes, sir.
All right.
There you go, man.
So Jonathan and
Jonathan,
Dent, my producer, who he sits in on many a shows. He's a producer of United Shades of Gray with Green Bone. Tell me about what you're feeling with this conversation, because you're somebody who's on the outside looking in.
Well, I played trombone too.
You did?
That's what I was kind of raising my hand for. But, no, I think that it's a very good. I was actually having this conversation just the other day, kind of with my dad. I think it's a very clear indication of generational change.
Yes.
And I don't generally like to group people like, oh, you're this generation, so you behave this way, and you're this generation, so you behave this way. That's not quite it. But there are trends. And I think that there is the trend, and it'll happen to our generation too, because I think I line up more with Anthony here. It'll happen to our generation too, where the youngsters come along and they upset the apple cart, and we get all upset and we shake our stick and say, why are you coming along and ruining our hip hop dances and our
TikTok, man?
Yeah,
I'm a
TikTok.
Vine person, and then TikTok came out, and I'm like, come on.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think that it's very good to recognize that every generation is the younger generation. They come in, they make the changes, and they really like the changes that they made. And then there's another generation that's going to come along, and they're going to make changes too. And I think that that's okay. When it comes to this event, I don't know the details. I tried to get a little bit of information on this, but it sounds really cool that in my opinion, I would rather come to Saginaw on Cinco de Mayo and have 4 or 5 medium to large events, and you get to pick and choose. You might go from one to the other. Each one has its own different feel. Each one has its own different purpose and audience, rather than one giant one. Like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade does not appeal to me. Like the one big event, I don't
Right.
find that all that exciting. I'd rather drive around the streets and see, hey, there's this block party going on here. Hey, those guys have something different going on there. Oh, look, a bunch of lowriders over there. What's going on that corner? That sounds a heck of a lot more interesting to me. And I don't even live in Saginaw. I live up in Standish, but this sounds exciting to me, is being able to drive around and see different things.
Jonathan, you traitor. No, I'm kidding. No, two celebrations is going to be fine. Honestly, really, it's going to be fine. And I'm quoting Dolores Cameron Vasquez. She says, "Let's just not lose the reason of the celebration of our culture."
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's what it is, man. It's not losing. Because, like, I even said it. I'm not here for profit. I'm not, people. I'm here so you guys can actually see yourselves and see, like, hey, I'm actually, Latino. And there's more than just Tejano and everything else. And that I'm a talented person.
Yes.
Not me, you're a talented person.
Yes.
You too, Jonathan. But but that's pretty much it, man. Like that's all it is. Like just kind of just starting something new and then seeing what goes from there. Like that's the best I can say.
Yeah, definitely. So Toyo Rosa says, my question is, how will the parade pass through Washington with traffic going to the Mac Center? So let me address something here though. We don't know what the parade route will be this year. It could change from last year. We're hoping it's still on Washington because it just ran so much smoother last year. And the Michigan route, you have to go over the bridge, Court Street, and then Michigan, and it's a lot longer. But we don't know because it's going to be up to the city and what they decide based on construction, as May is a construction month, where they start projects. And so we have to wait from the city to find out. So that question, I don't know for sure. But if we do go on Washington, we will start probably at Hoyt Park by the entrance of the zoo. And then it will indeed go in front of the Mac Center, and it'll go down Washington to downtown Saginaw.
I'll tell you people too. That is a good question. And the answer I'll get to you soon. And trust me, that's been on my mind too. Because that's one thing. So I know how long that parade and how long the setting it up.
Yeah.
And then 2, parking and everything. And then after the parade, we should be, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But before, I understand people, trust me, I'm working on that one right now.
Yeah. And so as we go forward with, like I said, 3 months left, we just encourage everybody to get involved. Start thinking about the floats that you're going to do, because as I mentioned, the theme this year is celebrating our roots, and we can do so much with that. And I think what our committee, what we were deciding with that was the idea, that the roots of who we are as a community are important to us.
Right.
And so we hope that, the community would come forward with beautiful floats. They can, give homage to their ancestors. They, last year, one of the things that we had happen was that families were doing floats for family members. Some were deceased because of COVID, and they wanted to celebrate that family member or the family itself. So I hope that this year we'll have more floats, even so than last year. And I think that's what makes a parade a lot of times, is the floats, of course, and the bands. And I hope we get bands, because we're here at the end of the school year, I guess, and some of the bands aren't available. So if you can help us, Bertie, because I know you're a musical person, if you can help us with the bands to get
Heritage
bands
High School,
in the
if you're
parade.
listening, get in there. Saginaw High, if you're listening, get in there. Arthur Hill, get in there. Well, German Town Frankenmuth, get in there. Trust me, there's Lowrider on the pep band sheet. I've heard you played it.
Kudos to Saginaw High. They have been with us every year, and they've always had that great the drums coming down, and the dances that they've had. We've had even sponsors that are from the plant from, say, next year, that they put money for, so that the bands can come and play, because it does cost. There has to be a sponsorship. Yes. And I think it's like $300 for them to be involved in playing a parade. So we're putting the word out there. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would want to bring up about in regard to this, coming from your perspective?
Everyone, you can chill out. You know what I mean? Also too, start going to these organizations and maybe join. So you know what I'm saying? Like, we can bring new ideas. Trust me, a lot of the old members are getting old, like I just said, old. And you know, that's pretty much it. I hope we both can have a good time. I hope this made the dust go down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm honored. Thank you for letting me come on your platform and, you know, be little me and talk about this.
Well,
And
thank you so much for, being here with us today. I want to mention your cousin and my cousin, Priscilla Garcia, says, I will be in the parade as the first Latina on Saginaw City Council. Can't wait to make my city proud. So
and that's all I'm trying to do too, is make everyone proud, like make the city proud, make everyone proud. Also to make everyone have a new idea of thinking, man. Like I said, the past is the past. Let's go forward. This is the future now. You know, thank God I don't have kids yet, but technically at my age, I should have kids. And you know what I'm saying?
No, you're still young.
I know. Well, yeah, you know, but that's the thing is we gotta be people my age, a little bit older, 35-year-olds. We gotta be the ones that show these 13, even 18-year-olds that you can be your own person.
Yeah.
You can do something different. You can't, you know what I mean? Yes, the old people are going to tell you that you're dumb and you're crazy and you're stupid, but they're wrong.
No, they're not going to tell you that. I don't know of any old person that would say something like that. I mean,
no, I haven't yet, but you know, trust me, I have a lot of self-doubt.
But it's really important. It's really important. You said something there, and I think it's really important that we do have those 35-year-olds and 40-year-olds, and I know life is tough, and you're trying to do your thing, or whatever. But our younger kids today need mentors, just like the generations before, and that's really important. That if I can show you anything, I'm more than willing to, Anthony. Believe me, in regards to organizing. It's been a wonderful thing for me in my life to be able to organize the city's Cinco de Mayo. I didn't do it alone. There's been a lot of help with the Civica members and my board. But it is a big responsibility that every May causes a lot of stress.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see how much hair I lose, or like the grades that I definitely am about to get.
Yeah. So kudos to all those that have helped in the past to make it happen, because there will be a time where I can just sit by and watch the parade and sit there and enjoy it, not worry about taking pictures, not worry about the marketing, as you will, and not worrying about going in to the festival at the event center, because I'm going to have that time to relax. And by the way, last year it was so busy with the parade and how everything went down that we didn't even get to sing the national anthem. We didn't get to kick off officially the Cinco de Mayo because it was so crowded. I couldn't get to the stage. I was still doing the broadcast for WSGW live on the live stream, which we're going to do again this year. And I think it'll be really exciting time for everybody. And let's just hope and pray that we have a beautiful day like last year, because the weather will make or break this.
And that's another thing too. Yeah, weather is definitely we live in beautiful old Michigan, so we never know.
Yeah. So what is I've got a good comment that encapsulates a lot of what has been said, and that is coming from my producer Jonathan Dent.
So it's actually someone from the chat, Jennifer Marie. It's very long. I'm not going to leave it up on screen there. But I think that this can be kind of extrapolated to the whole situation here. So I just want to read this out. I don't think we need to move on from Tejano music. And I think I would extend this sentiment to the entire Cinco de Mayo festival. I like all sorts of music: salsa, merengue, bachata. I cannot pronounce any of this.
Horchata, bachata.
Our everyday lives are saturated with new music and trends that aren't always inclusive or reflective of our culture. The Saginaw Cinco de Mayo, to me, is where I can be surrounded by the same music and traditions I grew up with. I look forward to that. Anthony's event will add more flavors that hit home for other people and other generations.
All right. Who said that?
Jennifer Marie.
Jennifer Marie. Good comment.
Yeah, Jenny.
Yes.
I love you.
And it's so important to recognize that, again, people, Saginaw has done some great things. We get a lot of hits from other people in other communities or whatever, what's happening here, but I'm always promoting Saginaw awesomeness, right? Because we got a
Viva
beautiful
Saginaw.
city. Viva Saginaw.
Viva Saginaw. I heard that
So
one.
we got 3 months to get ready for this big day, and let's hope for a beautiful sunny day. And let's give kudos to Anthony for his idea and the fresh ideas that he has, and let's move forward instead of backwards. We have to be that positive energy for our people so that we are looked upon as positive people in this community, not only for those outside of our community, but for our kids. That's what's so important. So thank you so much, Anthony, for being on the program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We had a lot of comments, a lot of good questions, and I will see you next week here on Mi Gente on Air. Hasta luego. So there you have it. We're here on the live stream. What a show. And Anthony, I'm so glad you were here to explain where you were coming from, giving you that platform and being here with me today. And Jenny, you had a great comment there that kind of summed up everything. And, I hope that we as a community move forward beyond this last week, because I know that it was difficult for a lot of the members of the Civica. A lot of people were upset. And I think it wasn't, if we had that dialogue, that communication, just to talk rather than the negative comments that I seen, being spilled out on Facebook. So I think it's real important that we recognize that we're all one people here, man. It takes a village, it takes a village, and we can showcase, because if we're divided, we fall and we don't look so good to the greater community. And that's what, this show's about, the contributions of Latinos. And we're not going to talk about the negative. We're going to talk about the positive things that are happening. So any last comments from you?
Come on out, volunteer, keep a smile on your face, and that's pretty much it.
And you know what? We've got a Don Mosqueda. He says Tamale Especial would like to be at both events.
See, look at that. See, look at that. Both can have the love.
It's all about the love, as Bertie says.
Yeah,
right?
It's all about the love, man. And that's the thing, too, is I get it. Some of you people, you have your questions. That's for a different conversation. But for this is all about love, man, and trying to show that, we have more culture to give than just the Joel Park. There's more culture that could be put all over this city.
And just remember, we have gone forward for so many years. So many other cities have had their events and they have faltered. But I'm not trying to knock any other city, but believe me, because they all have their great attributes. But Saginaw has it going on. And I say that all the time. And I get friends from Detroit. They say, man, you guys really got some stuff going on there,
Oh, dude, like my friend from Flint, she always, when she comes up to we always chill or whatever, when she did, LOL. But she always be like, dude, this place is developing. Like, this is way better than Flint. I'm like, really? I get it is Flint, but yeah, I guess. And that's the cool thing too, man. Born and raised, still here, to see my city do things that, even other people are like, holy crap, is the coolest thing to see. And then to be part of that and to, it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. If you see me drinking, I'm drinking a warm, hot coffee because this cold weather makes my nasal allergies drip, and I didn't want to have a coughing fit while we were on the air. It's happened before, but thank you everybody for being here. We still got a lot of people in the room, a lot of comments. I think this is one of our most popular shows, right? And it's good to see that there's that feedback and that connection with everybody. So spread the word. We're going to go forward with Cinco de Mayo coming up on May 6, 2022. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week on Mi Gente on Air.